Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. So I want to discuss today this article that was shared to us in the forums the other day by Crockford CK. Shout out to Crockford. Lessons in Open World Design by Jean-Baptiste Auger, who is a world designer over at Ubisoft Paris. Now, before I get into this, I just want to say this disclaimer. No offense to John, my opinions here. I get a little emotional or whatnot. It's been a long year for a lot of us in the Ghost Recon community. There are a lot of things in this article that I may or may not agree with, and I'm going to have opinions on it, as well as I want to go through the forums and see what other people discussed. So if you want a nice long video that goes into this topic, sit back, relax, because this is going to be long. I'm going to be reading and going through this and really talking about it. I probably should have filled up my water bottle. I'm probably going to need some water talking so long. So let's get right into it. Here's the article, Lessons in Open World Design, a Ghost Recon Story. Reflecting on what I learned about exploration design from building Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Video games convey the exquisite sense of escapism like no other medium. Documentaries about exotic places, exciting fantasy tales, and delicious novels are like open windows to extraordinary worlds. Yet only video games provide the opportunity to become the discoverer, not merely the spectator. Exploration of virtual worlds is among the most entertaining aspects of gaming. Really? So now you see where we're going with this, right, guys? Right off the bat, exploration of virtual worlds is among the most entertaining aspects of gaming. Is it? How do you guys feel about that? My Ghost Recon community out there. If you're watching this on PC, open up Notepad, and every time there's something that we discuss, write your thoughts about it, and then you copy and paste that into the comments. If you're on your phone, that's going to be a little more difficult. So try to remember what you want to say, and maybe at the end you can write a comment down below and discuss some things. Hence, game developers like myself would love to crack the code to enrich our creations with these immersive, fulfilling, fascinating moments. There's no one-size-fits-all in design, no pre-baked recipe. Everyone needs to come up with their own based on what they observed and learned. In my design career, I've worked on several AAA open worlds, but the last I shipped, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, taught me more than any other about the pitfalls and opportunities to craft a satisfying exploration experience. The essence of exploration. By definition, exploration means observing something to increase one's knowledge about it. Explorers have a particular mindset that is almost paradoxical, that they are both confident there's something to discover and unsure what, when, how, and where exactly said discovery may occur. They do not wander randomly hoping for serendipity. They make assumptions, establish strategies, and step in the unknown. So this guy's really talking about something I expect in my Tomb Raider games, something I expect in my Uncharted games. And it seems as if this man and maybe this design team was really, really far off on their assumptions that Ghost Recon should be an action-adventure exploration type game, which is perhaps why the game world is the way that it is. Let's continue. The pleasure is the journey, not the destination. Armed with a desire to push the boundaries, to figure out what else there is to know and see. Explorers don't just travel from A to B. The pleasure is the journey, not the destination. Naturally, when the players are given both a character to move around freely and a world they've never seen before, they're inclined to be driven by curiosity. They want to discover what the game creator has conceived to entertain them, which problems he or she designed, and how to solve them. With the same mindset as explorers, players enter an unfamiliar world, self-assured that they will find something. Only games can offer from this comfort of your home. There are no dangers to fear, only the joy of discovery. The tale of the blossoming tree. Breakpoint didn't meet expectations. As we were making it, we encountered several design flaws. So as they were making the game, there were already design flaws. Red flag. One of them was the way playtesters moved in the open world. Contrary to what we intended, they only focused on the main story campaign. avoiding all side quests and free roaming in the world. It wasn't due to lack of content, yes it was. The vast island of Aroa features many diverse and beautiful landscapes. No one cares. It's a Ghost Recon game. Filled with dozens of cities. There's one major city in Aroa, and the rest are just a bunch of compounds that look the same. Factories that all look the same, and military camps that all look the same. Some natural decorations and human-made places were specially crafted to encourage the player to leave the paved road and discover the world by themselves. We call them wild mysteries. You created wild mysteries in a Ghost Recon game, not knowing that your Ghost Recon fan base does not care to solve wild mysteries. What they want to do is strategize. They want to look at the tactical situation of going into a compound and exfiltrating safely. They want to control their squad-based AI and send a one guy this way, one guy that way. I'll go up the middle, flank around this way, kill that enemy, shoot that. Already going through this, you already feel the sense that this game was doomed from the get-go. Ubisoft Paris is completely lost with what it takes to make a perfect Ghost Recon game. And it starts right here with the building of the world. They couldn't even get the game world right because they were creating a game for you to explore the game world. I first encountered a wild mystery when playing the early Vertical Slice demo. While searching for my next objective's location, I spotted a blossoming tree on a small island downhill. I decided to go out of my way and check it out. So this guy was in the middle of a mission and saw a tree, a blossoming tree, out in the distance and said to himself, the mission can wait. This tree is exciting. It's exhilarating. I must see what this tree is all about. A chest was lying underneath. I opened it. I can't remember its contents. That was secondary. The small discovery felt good and of itself. The wild mysteries were a welcome change of pace from the tactical, sometimes intense, stealth and shooting experience. Yes, there's nothing more than people who are playing a game for tactical, sometimes intense, stealth and shooting experience than to see a blossoming tree with a treasure chest underneath it, to walk up to that chest and say, I don't care what's in this chest. Just the fact of finding this tree was so exhilarating. I can't wait to find more trees just like it. They gave slim rewards, but it didn't matter much. The joy of finding them was enough. Did I read that part already? Okay. Later, once the missions and the entire world was ready to test, most players had a very different experience than mine. They barely visited wild mysteries and frequently got lost in the vast natural landscapes. Do you mean the vast, barren landscapes where you have compound, all separated from each other? These make pretend 12 huge cities that you have that don't exist. They complained, rightfully, that the world was too empty. Sounds familiar. Sounds like the forum since OTT1. And annoying to travel through. Sounds like the forums in OTT1. Which is why, from the beginning of the game when it launched to now, they added things to do from compound to compound. That's why there are patrols everywhere. That's why there's 50 million guys with motorbikes that are broken down in the middle of the jungle. That makes no sense. They created these doodads and just decided to plop them down in between compounds instead of making huge thriving compounds that went one to the next and you getting lost in the compounds. Instead, you get lost in nothing. And I'm not sure if that's an engine issue. That's something to be discussed as to what the game can render without frame rate drops, but that's a different discussion. Among other things, we decided to add question mark icons all over the map to help the player discover the hidden locations. So you make a hidden location and no one wants to find the hidden location, so you put a big fat question mark over the hidden location, thus not making it a hidden location. You see the problem here, guys? And you're game designers. You're game designers, and this is what you do. You create a world that no one wants to explore, and then you say, okay, well, look, there's something over here. Go to it. Doesn't make sense. Oh, so some crates were added to each of them. And if you'd recon, here's the recon. We put the recon in the Ghost Recon, guys. Recon the trees and these hidden places, and you'll find treasure chests. If you use your binoculars or drones, you'd also know which equipment they contained. Ooh, look, I'm putting my binoculars on a treasure chest, and I could see inside this treasure chest. It has pants that have +5 to traveling. It has +5 to weaponsmithing in the bivouac. Icons killed the magic of the blossoming tree for me. I didn't enjoy discovering a place quite as much. Even with the curiosity-inducing question mark, they were far from mysteries now. No shit. These places became simple and occasional things I could do as something of a sidetrack whenever I felt like doing them, or if I just wanted to pick up some loot. Loot, another issue that we won't get into unless it's brought up. In short, the satisfying sense of discovery vanished. Good. You should have destroyed the entire world and realized this isn't an action-adventure game. We're not playing Legend of Zelda. Nobody wants to discover treasure chests under a blossoming tree in Ghost Recon. And I hope you understand this now for the next one, because I swear to God, if you guys keep building games like this, you're going to destroy the franchise, and we're just going to sit here depressed because we won't have a third-person squad-based tactical shooter to play anymore. They won't even work on the basic things that will make this game great. They're trying to transform it into something the game isn't. You're Ubisoft. Make a new IP if you want to make an action-adventure game like Tomb Raider or Uncharted. Don't take Ghost Recon down this path. Why didn't the map icon solution work? I wonder why. The decision to include map icons wasn't irrational, nor a bad choice per se. I specialize in progression and motivation as a game designer, and I knew we only had 2, so if you specialize in progression and motivation as a game designer, sign me up to be a game designer. Because damn, dude. And I knew we only had 2 ways to approach a situation where the player isn't inclined to naturally perform a certain activity. We could either increase the activity's desirability or reduce the effort to undertake it. We did both. Congratulations. We did both and the game failed. Terribly. Or should I say the game failed successfully. When the player isn't inclined to perform a specific activity, you need to either increase its desirability or reduce the effort to undertake it. That's what's highlighted here. Adding loot chests to all locations and displaying them with map icons is undoubtedly not an elegant solution, but it slightly enhances both of the factors I mentioned and at a minimal cost. Reworking major systems or changing the world itself could yield better results, which is what y'all should have done. But those are rarely viable options this late in production. Not true. That's what y'all should have done. The decision to add the map icons wasn't popular within the team, as you might imagine. But at the time, it was difficult to pinpoint exactly why it was bothering us. And you know what? I think the team was right. I think the exploration of the game that nobody really cares about might have been a little better if people didn't see the icons and were just like, yo, what is that? It's not on my map. Let's go check it out. But when it is on the map, people are like, yeah, I don't care about that. Anyway, maybe that's just me. But for a game like Ghost Recon, you don't see, this is the problem too. Play Tomb Raider, play Uncharted. They're sandbox linear games, but they don't show you where something is until maybe you pick it up. You know, they have maps, but it's not like, oh, look, here's something for you to find. Here's something. No, you come upon it and you find it. Especially playing old Tomb Raider games where there weren't even maps. Like today's day and age, apparently there has to be a map in every game. In the old games, it was just, here, play this game. Here's a board. It's relatively linear, sandbox-ish, and you have to find a key over there, pull a level over there, and you have to figure out the puzzle system. Good luck. And that's all it was. And if you couldn't do that, you went out and you bought the walkthrough. You literally bought the walkthrough at GameStop for for money. So or wherever I bought games back then. I don't even know. The first Tomb Raider, where did I buy that? Did GameStop even exist back then? I don't even remember. But I remember back in those days, you bought the walkthroughs to your games if you didn't want to be lost. Anyway, so where am I? At the time, it was difficult to pinpoint exactly why it was bothering us. It took time and reflection to organize my thoughts on the matter, which is why I've sat down to write this piece. And kudos for him writing this piece. I'm sure a lot of people like myself, well, not really. I don't think that many people actually cover Ghost Recon like I do. Discussing the ins and outs of it like this, other than discussing it on the forums. I don't know that many channels that discuss the game other than just putting up maybe gameplay. But kudos to him for doing this. You know, hopefully things are learned from Breakpoint and they move forward in a completely different fashion. The issue raised by our solution can be split into three categories. The exploration incentive changed from a strong but hard to tame intrinsic motivation to a weaker intrinsic driver. The new fuels to sustain this motivation, density and desirability of rewards, partly address the issue initially, but they quickly fade in the midterm. So I guess maybe at first, but then eventually people are like, yeah, whatever. And that's true because it's a Ghost Recon game, guys. The three indirect factors correlated with exploration: movement, observation, and goals. Movement, how to move through a compound. Observation of enemy movements. And goals, complete your objectives. Get in, destroy the objectives or complete the objectives, and then exfiltrate, right? So that's Ghost Recon, guys. It's not movement, run around the forest, observation, find the blossoming tree, and goals, pick a treasure chest. Like, you got your shit backwards, bro. I'm going to break down each of these components and explore them in the context of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's important to note that I focus here exclusively on the game design aspects of exploration. The game design aspects of exploration. So already their lead game designers do not know what they're designing and what game they're designing. The parameters I discuss here don't include either the size or visual design of the space itself. My expertise and my role in the team isn't to craft the explorable space, but rather to conceive the rules and the game structure to enable exploration. Part 1, the exploration incentive. So he's creating this game loop to incentivize you to explore. And we sit here and wonder why this game failed. Like, holy shit, your game designers don't even know what they're creating anymore. They don't even know what franchise they're in. Again, if you want to make a Tomb Raider, if you want to make a Uncharted game, guys, make a new IP. Put Ghost Recon on the shelf for a while. Get a new creative team to come in and think of some things and juggle some people around to start a different Ghost Recon team. You know, give it to a different team, Ubisoft. If this is what Paris wants to do, make a new IP. Give Paris the opportunity to make an Uncharted, to make a Tomb Raider game if that's what they want. But geez, don't let them do this with Ghost Recon, because this is not what the Ghost Recon community wants. Nobody wants this, and Breakpoint proved it. I developed my expertise in progression systems over several years. In doing so, I grasped a solid understanding of human motivation. There is one mistake I used to make. It's an assumption that I still often see my designer peers make. It is the belief that players need to be promised a reward to make them perform a specific task in the game. It's an assumption that I still often see my designer peers make, people who he works with or people in the industry. It is the belief that players need to be promised a reward to make them perform a specific task in the game. So now do you realize what we're dealing with? My entire generation of gamers is completely out the window and forgotten about, because this is exactly the opposite of what we grew up playing. When we play a game, we play for immersion. We play because it's fun. I don't go into a game and play because I'm going to get a reward at the end of the the story or whatnot. It's exactly the opposite of what I've experienced my entire life. I mean, growing up, every single Nintendo game, when you beat it, what happened? What happens at the end of Mario Brothers, right? You start at level 1-1, you end at level 8-4, you save the princess. What happens? Game starts again. That's it. That's my Nintendo experience. Then I move on to Sega Genesis. What happens? Maybe you'll unlock a character, right? Maybe something like that. Nintendo 64, I'm playing GoldenEye. Maybe I play the game enough. I beat it on every level. And then what happens? I unlock secret missions. Oh, I unlocked the secret mission. Let me play it. Oh, I unlocked some characters I could play with in this game or that game. Oh, Tomb Raider. I found some secrets. What do the secrets do? Nothing. They're just there to let you know that you found all the secrets. You found all the little areas, all the nooks and crannies that the majority of people might not find. When I played the first Metal Gear Solid game that I ever played, not the Nintendo ones, the PlayStation 1, right? You start as Solid Snake, and you go through this amazing game. One of the first game of its kind, story-driven, movie-type game. What do you get in this game? Nothing. You start off with nothing. You get a pistol. Nice, I got a pistol now. You get a suppressor for the pistol. Oh, awesome. Now my pistol is suppressed. You find night vision goggles. Awesome, I got night vision goggles now. Right? You get a machine gun. You play through the entire game, and what do you get at the end of the game? Well, depending on how you did during the torture scene, you either got the bandana, which means you could play the game again with unlimited ammunition, or you got the stealth camo suit, which means you could play the game and you could be invisible at any point in time. That was it. And you didn't know you got these rewards until you beat the game. You beat the game and you realize you got this reward. That was it. But now, a player needs to be promised a reward to make them perform a specific task. Just a specific task in the game. So they created this huge world and said, here's loot boxes, here's this, here's that. And in order for you to perform it, we know that you need a specific reward. Meanwhile, my entire gaming life consisted of nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. It's been the complete opposite. I don't go and do something mundane because there's a reward at the end of it. I do it because it's fun. It's the reason why I'll walk away from a game before I platinum it. It's the reason why I'll play Tomb Raider games and not get the secrets and not care about it. Because if I didn't consider it fun, I didn't care about it. It's the reason why the majority of things in Ghost Recon Breakpoint weren't completed. Because they're not fun, and I couldn't care less about half the shit you put in the game map and in the world. Let's continue. It's undeniable that economic systems are powerful motivation machines. We wouldn't do many things in our jobs if not for the paycheck. Playing games is fundamentally different. By definition, it's an activity the player willingly enters into of their own free will. After purchasing a game, we are intrinsically motivated to discover, learn, and experience it. True. That's especially true when it features a vast world. Not true. An intriguing story. Maybe. And dozens of fun systems to play with. Dozens of fun systems, which Ghost Recon Breakpoint has one of. Shooting. That's it. There are no systems in this game. You didn't create any vast amounts of systems that players can play around with. Like with Wildlands, at least there was the rebel system that was fun to mess around with as a player. You didn't have to engage the enemy directly. You can use the rebels, which made you feel like a real Green Beret type of behind enemy lines soldier, where you were building up these armies to overthrow this government, or in this case, a system, which was the Santa Blanca cartel that was controlling the country. Vast world, intriguing story, and dozens of fun systems to play with. When you're on holidays, do you need a monetary incentive to go and have fun on the beach or hang out with your friends? No, exactly. And that's probably why the majority of people find your game boring. As a designer, your goal is to nurture that pre-existing interest, which often begins with simple curiosity, and encourage it to grow. You can't and typically don't need to create motivation ex nihilo with extrinsic carrots. Okay, so carrot on a stick type development. You don't need that type of stuff. The challenge for gamers with greater freedom of choice, such as those with open worlds, is to understand how players will choose among several different types of content. Okay, but there's not really several different types of content in this game. Whether you go to a side mission, a faction mission, or a story mission, it all felt the same in this game. Which activity is worth the player's attention at time at a given moment? Assuming the proposed activities are all equally appealing, the best course of action for the creators to ensure proper exposition for each. The main campaign often acts as a door of entry for all sorts of side content. Wrong. You see? Wrong. And I'm going to say that's wrong for this one reason, right? The main campaign often acts as a door of entry for all sorts of side content, right? After experiencing Ghost of Tsushima, this ideology should be blown right out the door. You can experience all of Jin's side quests, which is basically all the characters that he's involved with, all of their journeys, and not even touch the main story, and have an incredible story that feels like a main story. You see, this is where Ubisoft goes wrong with these side quests that just feel like burdens. It doesn't add anything to the story, where Ghost of Tsushima specifically, these things add to the story that you're going through. It was a huge success, in my opinion, on how Sucker Punch did this, the side quests in Ghost of Tsushima, because everything just felt like the game. It all just felt like one big main quest, to be honest. They could have literally just had it all be one main quest, but you didn't have to do them. It was really a job well done on Sucker Punch's behalf. Let's continue. It's Ghost Recon Breakpoint's first mistake. The early missions focused quasi-exclusively on narration. In this context, the player has no choice. They aren't told very much about the alternatives offered by the open world or the progression system. The intro delivers what the marketing campaign sold, a military's brother's revenge story set on an island in the near future. There's no space provided to let the player breathe and therefore make room for other interests. Mission chain. Each one tells you what to do, what you'll get for doing it, what aspects to enjoy. The opportunity to simply let the player experience a personal journey driven by their curiosity fades away. The player's already on a rail. So much for world exploration. My man, you are 100% wrong. The first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of Breakpoint is the best part of the game. If you would have continued that, and this is what I've said in older games as well, older videos as well, you could have made Ghost Recon Breakpoint an open world game with a linear story design philosophy. What you did in the first 15 minutes is by far the best part of the game, because it felt like it was on rails and that you were going through this behind enemy lines situation. Once that evaporated and you wanted me to explore blossoming trees with treasure chests underneath it, the game went and fell off a cliff. So if there was a debate within the studio on how to continue the story, and you were on the opposite end of what you just said here, you're wrong, bro. You should have continued with what went on the first 15 minutes, and it never should have stopped. Never should have stopped. It should have felt like an Uncharted type game, or the Last of Us type game, where the Last of Us, it won't do open world, but it's linear design and straightforward storytelling. Maybe not so much the second one, because there was a lot of flashbacks and things like that. My point being is that when you crashed in this copper in Breakpoint and you had to go to 3 choppers and then it ended, the sense that sense that you were behind enemy lines and, oh shit, what's going on here, was completely drowned out by the troop from that 3rd chopper to Erewhon. By the time you got to Erewhon, you were exhausted already, because your game designers made you go from this part of the map all the way over here just to get to Erewhon. It was absolutely insane. You had to traverse the entire map just to get to where you needed to go, just to go 20 miles that way to go find Fox, to fly 20 miles back this way to go find, like, it was just bad, man. It was bad. So what you're saying here, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're absolutely wrong. The player doesn't want to be dropped off in the map and just say, let me explore. No game is like that. Not even The Legend of Zelda was like that. Ocarina of Time. It was a huge open world, but you still had things to do. And when you went off base, Navi would yell in your ear, hey, listen, let's go do this, because you're basically just running around right now doing nothing. I feel like if you would have stuck to your marketing team's idea of what it should have been, yeah, it should have been a linear gameplay that just took you on foot through grueling after grueling gunfight and battle. You know, finding little things out, what's going on this island, and what Walker is doing, and how this all came to fruition. That would have been exciting and fun, and people would have gone through this like, yo, that was a different Ghost Recon experience, but it was entertaining. Instead, you basically just gave us the first 10 minutes and then was like, all right, just fly around the island, complete these mission objectives by yourself. You have no tactical team. We want you to explore all these blossoming cherry trees with loot crates underneath them, and, you know, get these rewards so you can get your gear higher. And it was just a swing and a miss, bro. Swing and a miss. And for you to speak on like this, like almost like the first 10 minutes of the game was wrong. Nah, bro, you're wrong. First 10 minutes of the game was right, and it should have stuck to that. Can you layer incentives? Assuming the player is intrinsically motivated to explore, there's a tendency to assume that it shouldn't hurt to add additional layer of rewards just in case. There we go again, rewards, carrot on a stick. The idea being that in the worst case, the player will just ignore those rewards and remain curiosity driven. Yes, this hedging the bets may not necessarily hurt, but the reality of the human mind is complicated. You don't simply get magic results without trade-offs. It's not that complicated, dude, when you're targeting a specific audience that has thousands of posts on your website stating what you did wrong. Layering motivations on top of one another usually helps to spark interest and keep it alive a little longer. You know, keep you in that game. Keep you finding loot boxes, and maybe you'll eventually go to the store and purchase something. Games are full of completion mechanics, challenges, checklists, and trophies. Once again, they shouldn't be. These things are all useful to extend games' lifespan. Once again, no, it's not. You want to know what extends the game's lifespan, or a game's lifespan? The game loop being absolutely addicting. That is the reward for players who come back to a game over and over and over again. It's the game loop. There's a reason why people play these single player games and they're one and done games, because there is no real game loop. It's just the single player experience going through the story. But in your games, if you provide a game loop, like something like Ghost of Tsushima, or I'll be honest, even The Last of Us, if they had an open world, their game loop is really fun, because it's fun hiding from zombies, killing zombies, and then the religious people whistling all over the place. It's just boring doing the same area over and over again. you can't replay that area kind of differently how you can in an open world game like Ghost of Tsushima or Ubisoft games. So if you provide a game loop that's exhilarating and fun, nobody needs rewards. I don't need to find a treasure chest under a tree to feel like I've been rewarded for my game time. No, what I want for playing the game is to have an intense time that is fun and exhilarating and exciting. That's what makes the game that's what makes your games worth playing over and over and over again, and that's what will get people coming back to the game, which Ghost Recon didn't have. You didn't have rebels, which you didn't really need. You could have moved on from that, but you didn't have AI. Your team, and it's not this guy's fault. He's just the map designer or the mission creator. You guys didn't program your AI any differently. You didn't make any new systems in the game, which I've spoken on countless systems here on my channel, between enemies respawning, between enemy AI, between teammate AI. So many things that could have been done to push this game into the forefront of what squad-based tactical shooters could be in the future. And you missed the mark trying to make an exploration game, trying to make a Ghost Recon Tomb Raider, which failed on all levels. Ghost Recon Tomb Raider, you weren't either. Let's continue. However, studies have shown that intrinsic stick and carrot type motivations can extinguish the deeper intrinsic motivation drivers such as curiosity, which no one was curious to find everything in this world, at least I wasn't, creativity, or a will to grow. In his book Drive, Daniel Pink recounts an experiment conducted on kids that perfectly illustrates this effect. Scientists give paper and crayons to two groups of kids. They want to observe how the kids react to different incentives. The first group, they offer a nickel for each drawing, but they offer no specific incentives to the second group, just as they hypothesized. Every kid in the first group started to draw on the spot and produced more drawings than those in the second group. The scientists expected this result. Now they wanted to measure how much of their motivation came from the monetary incentive. So they announced that in the next round of drawings, they would no longer pay anything. Then they observed the results. When the intrinsic rewards evaporated, the kids in the first group didn't have any self-motivation to rest on. Their desire to draw plummeted. In the meantime, the kids in the second group continued to draw at a good pace, intrinsically motivated by their art. Scientists expected this result. Now they wanted to measure how much of their motivation came from the monetary incentive, so they announced they would no longer pay and observe. Kids in the first group rapidly lost interest in drawing. They stopped almost entirely. Meanwhile, the other kids continued to produce drawings at a good pace, intrinsically motivated by their art. Similar effects can be observed from players who completely lose interest once reaching the maximum level or completing the story. If the game is intended to be played in the long term, players will tend to blame their aimlessness on the lack of endgame content, when the root cause is due in part of the lack of intrinsic motivation. Or, if your endgame content is trash and your game loop is trash, people no longer feel the need to play your trash game, which is what happened with Ghost Recon Breakpoint. A lot of people were upset that the battle rewards were missing because your carrot on the loop type of motivation needed to be there for them to play, because the game loop just wasn't that fun to play. So they figured they needed rewards to do it. And so you take that and now you think that's what you're going to need. I hope not, because it's not. We decided to go down this intrinsic route when it came to adding those map icons in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Numbers, completion marks, and checklists are reassuring for our human brains, both for the creator and the player. It's also easier to grasp visual incentive systems rather than abstract concepts like curiosity or creativity. Although this shift did help to engage players in the short-term exploration loop and give them the sensation of a fuller game, it wasn't sufficient to sustain long-term motivation. So fueling the motivation. In part 1, I explained what adding tangible rewards isn't an efficient way to ignore the desire to explore. They are still essential to fuel motivation in the longer term to keep it alive. In part 1, I explained that while adding tangible rewards isn't an efficient way to ignore the desire to explore, they are still essential to fuel motivation in the longer term to keep it alive. Do you see now why we got a looter shooter Ghost Recon, guys? People like this who are working in Ubisoft Paris. This is it. This is what we're getting moving forward in this company. I guarantee it. You know, it's kind of I'm concerned about the future of this franchise when this is what people think. I just don't think it's essential at all. I don't think tangible rewards are essential if your game loop is crack. If your game loop is addicting and fun, like the game loop for me would be so much more fun with one simple thing. If the teammate AI was just better. If you can control them individually, if you could give them orders that made sense, the game loop would be way more fun. And that's just one part of it. Then if you designed, you know, better terrain, better maps, better enemy AI, better areas to take over, the game could be great on its own without any carrot on a stick reward system. If you look at competitive multiplayer games these days, they all gift you with occasional cosmetic rewards, which is cool. That's just cool. You want to hook your guy up. It's a game loop designed to support and renew your interest over time. Even though, once again, since I'm so old, I'll speak on my old ass. The most I ever played a PvP type game outside of WoW, which the game loop is to keep playing to get rewards that make you better. So they make you stronger. So RPGs are different in that manner. But SOCOM gave you no rewards other than a rank. And guess what? I played that shit to death. I didn't need cosmetic rewards. Everything was unlocked. If I wanted to dress as a SAS, I could dress as SAS all black. If I wanted to dress as a SEAL, helmet, hat, whatever I wanted, cool, it was available. That was it. That's all you got. No rewards. All the guns were available. Play how you like. Your reward at the end of the day was winning, kicking ass, and getting a higher rank. So you can floss on everybody else that you got your wings. And if you played SOCOM, you know what that means. It's a game loop designed to support and renew your interest over time. Remember, though, that the social connection, will to learn, and sense of achievement remain the primary intrinsic motivators. Unlocking skins is the cherry on top. And I agree, unlocking skins is awesome. However, Ghost Recon doesn't let you unlock skins, they let you pay for them. Let's return to exploration for a moment. You know, minus the ones that we did get for Breakpoint, but I'm really thinking of Wildlands. That had so many awesome skins, and I bet you the majority of people never even got them because they were all locked behind a paywall. That wasn't even a real paywall. You had to gamble to do it. You had to unlock those crates. Let's return to exploration for a moment. Few players find appeal solely in visual stimuli alone. Okay. Most still need positive reinforcement to keep their interest from fading. And let me guess, the positive reinforcement is rewards. In order to encourage curiosity in the longer term, designers usually incorporate tangible rewards. There we go. Which may include narrative collectibles. There were, oh God, now I see why Ghost Recon was this way. All the collectibles that I didn't care about, extra times or extra activities to perform. Importantly, the rewards must be desirable throughout the player's journey in order to be maximally efficient. But as you might have guessed, this wasn't the case in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. You don't say. You don't say. As I previously mentioned, we didn't just signal content with map icons. We also added numerous loot chests to the world. The new RPG-esque equipment style we added this time around was disliked by many. No. Let me help you out here, bro. It was disliked by all, okay? It was disliked by all. Anyway. But still, gaining a new weapon or armor piece should be an exciting reward in any game of the genre. Okay. We'll see. So why didn't our chests attract players as we intended? Oh shit. Let's find out. Without wading into the details, I want details, of the entire loot system itself, There are 3 specific elements that reduce the appeal of these exploration rewards. When you recon a location from afar, you know in advance which loot chest it contains. It kills the what's in the box curiosity, and if you don't like the equipment, you won't go out of your way for it. They literally designed this shit for you to just find loot boxes, bro. They designed a Ghost Recon game for you to find loot boxes. And I'm not one to say people should lose jobs, but holy shit, could you not be more lost at the job you had? Could you not be more lost at what you were supposed to do in your job? What you were creating? The equipment pieces you collect from chests are the same as the ones you could loot or buy to the merchants. Not very true. There are ones out in the real world you have to find in order to unlock things. But I do hear what he's saying. The lack of exclusivity is another reason not to invest efforts into collecting a specific chest from a particular place. Unlike most RPGs, there is no minimum level to access missions or regions. You can complete the game while mostly ignoring the loot system. We didn't want to implement level gating that would force players to grind, but that clearly had trade-offs. So you see, they really did. Because in the beginning, that's really how it was. You couldn't go with level 0 gear to go fight a behemoth at 250, 150 or whatever. You got your ass whooped. You didn't kill enemies as fast or behemoths as fast. So you see, they did have this in mind. They wanted this type of Witcher 3 type leveling system. I guarantee you all these Ubisoft people making these games, they are huge RPG fans. And they're tired of making a squad-based tactical shooter. They just don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. And they tried to fundamentally transform what this game was. And the entire community shit on them. And for that, Ubisoft, the publisher, should take the reins away from this company if this is what they tried to do with the game. Because they don't know what they're doing. Guarantee you, you give me the programmers and the designers, and you make me the creative director of this game, I hit a home run. You take some people from the forums who have the same type of ideology I have, you make them the creative director, they hit a home run. But for some reason, your team has no idea what it's doing with this franchise, and it's scary to see what this guy's writing about. Although he realizes his mistakes, it seems like he thinks he just has to tweak his formula rather than abandon it and write a new one. The new one being an old one, which is going back to the roots of what this franchise is. It's a realistic, semi-simulator, squad-based tactical shooter. We don't care about trees with loot crates under them. We don't care about exploring, a bush over there to see if there's a secret hidden inside of it. No, I don't want to walk inside a dungeon like Zelda. And I found the dungeon map. Wow, I found the iron boots, or you found the shield. Like, this is not what Ghost Recon Breakpoint is, people. Where am I? Although these exploration rewards exist, we didn't rely on traditional layers for valid reasons, and as a result, the rewards didn't end up being particularly attractive because you don't know your audience. Most players enjoy the loot they get on the critical path already. Chests aren't enough to encourage them to stray from the beaten path because you don't know your audience. Rhythm and density. In addition to the desirability of the exploration rewards, it's essential to be aware of their density within the play area. If the collectible items are attractive but too scarce, players will rarely encounter them and end up more frustrated than satisfied with exploration. You see, if the collectible items are attractive but too scarce, players will rarely encounter them and end up more frustrated than satisfied with exploration. Wrong. Once again, wrong. This isn't a game of exploration. If you had hidden shit in this game, number one, it would get out to the public via YouTube and gaming media. It would get out there. But number two, let's say you completely remove the loot-based system. If there was some type of way to have you kill this person or search that area, and within those areas, that's where you found your night vision goggles, In Breakpoint specifically, because we were behind enemy lines, we crash landed, we didn't have anything. So instead of a talent point unlocking my night vision goggles, you literally could have had me find them in an encampment somewhere. You literally could have had me find a gun here and a gun there. You could have made the reward system meaningful. Instead, you looted the entire map with so much shit that nobody cared about any of it. It's the other way around, dude. Making things rare make them more attractive because it's hard to find. It's hard to pick up. You're going through Breakpoint and you're like, oh my God, it's too dark. I can't see. Like, how do I find night vision goggles? Maybe one of your R&D centers could have had a hint that it was, a research and development for tactical gear. And somebody could put 2 and 2 together and be like, oh shit, they do tactical gear at this research and development area. Let me go check it out. Oh shit, I found night vision here. What's this research and development area? Like, you could have changed it up. All these R&D centers in the map, they don't do anything. The scientists don't do anything. You literally made an entire game based on a tree with a box underneath it. An area of a cave that has a box. This base just has boxes laying around it. It was just really bad game design. And if you were in charge of it, or if you were one of the main people doing it, you and your team, you guys failed, man. You failed at this, and your ideology is just completely off. And I hope, I pray that you, like I said before, that you don't just try to tweak this, man. Where am I? Game developers rarely discuss rhythm because most figure it out intuitively as they build the game. This often happens late in production when the experience is being tweaked and balanced. Finding the right pacing to accompany the flow of your game experience is a crucial aspect of the design. Nonetheless, the analogy is to imagine listening to your favorite song at half or double speed. Okay. There isn't a once-size-fits-all design solution to nail the rhythm. Rockstar Games has an interesting approach to the problem. They try to stick to a golden rule. There's never more than 45 seconds of traveling between 2 consecutive points of interest. In the absence of physical structures, their system spawns events on the road, such as the diligence assaults in Red Dead Redemption, which break up the monotony of long trips. That is kind of true, but Rockstar does that right with how their game works. You guys kind of did it wrong. Every 45 seconds, there's just another, patrol in the middle of the woods doing nothing. No one, here's an example. No one's setting up booby traps for you. No one's out there. There are no snipers looking for you out in the woods. It's just, a couple guys on a motorcycle broken down. Over and over and over and over again. A row is too big. Too big. Even with hundreds of points of interest, the density feels too low. Prior to us putting icons on the map, players would rarely discover stuff on their own. Well, there's a hint. Now you never do, but at least moving from one place to the next doesn't take as long. And you know what I've said about this in previous videos. You could have taken parts of the map and made them feel linear. And what I mean by that is, instead of if my screen is the entire game map, maybe a section of it could have been mountain ranges with trees with one way in, and it has the linear feel to go through it. An important hidden station, for the wolves. You go through it, and then the way out is a cave underneath that comes out the back. So maybe if you found the cave first, you can go in, but there's only one way in, like you could have made areas like that, and there's 0 areas like that. Try doing this, which is what I feel like I'm going to do in a live stream. Go to the bottom of the map and try to go from the bottom of the map or the top of the map. Go from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top without dying. Try doing it without dying. You don't have to go through any areas you don't want to. You could literally stick to the woods the entire time. It would have been cool if some areas were kind of cut off from mountain ranges and you had to go through an area built. You had to go through this area if you wanted to get through this area. There's really nothing like that in the entire game. And then of course you can hop in a chopper and just go anywhere, but that's something completely different, what I'm trying to get through. That the map doesn't provide anything that where if you think a row is too big, you need to limit some areas so you kind of force the player to go through things so you can force them to find things. With your mission design bouncing all over the map, hopping in a helicopter and just going to it, how do you design for that, dude? Now you never do, but at least moving from one place to the next doesn't take as long. Map icons help gamers get around the density issue. Undiscovered places don't remain undiscovered because they simply appear as empty world. Well, you designed empty world, so I mean, it's not our fault. We don't want to explore trees with a treasure chest in the middle of the forest. Nobody cares. I told you guys this was going to be long, right? I mean, long. Holy shit. Designing for exploration goes beyond igniting intrinsic motivation and stuffing an area with enough attractive elements. Allow me to elaborate further on 3 key aspects of the bigger picture that all had a substantial impact on Ghost Recon Breakpoint's exploration. Bear in mind that these factors typically wouldn't be in the hands of the same group of people in a large team, and yet they have the power to diminish or to amplify the enjoyment of exploration in the game. How you move. Traversal gameplay, or just movement if you prefer, refers to the mechanics used by characters to get from A to B. Running, driving, paragliding. Fundamentally, exploration is about encouraging the players to experiment with different available methods for traversal. The eagerness to explore directly correlates of the pleasure of moving in the game. Isn't that pleasurable? Especially when you're falling down mountains every 2 seconds, slipping, sliding, every 2 seconds. Traveling around the world of Breakpoint was painful for a long time, and it still was at the time of release, even after our tweaks. You can get injured or become exhausted and fall while navigating slopes. You just fell too much in the game. It would be a slope like this, and your guy would slide down it and fall. Vehicles aren't particularly fun to use due to sloppy driving and uneven terrain, so he even admits that his own game that they're designing has sloppy driving and uneven terrain, which the terrain part, of course, you're going to have mountainous terrain that's uneven. Even when the player is fully aware of the existence of content and where it is located in the world, they are likely to weigh the potential gain of moving to those places of interest versus additional effort required to get there. Or the players just don't care because they know it's mundane. You know how many side missions I haven't done or faction missions I don't do anymore because it's just boring. The game loop is boring. And if you would have added AI, like I said, that was interesting, the game loop would be a little bit more fun. Conversely, if moving is pleasurable thanks to responsive, engaging, and thrilling character controls and animation, then exploration collectibles can become a valid pretext to spend more time in the world. Oh, jeez. These guys think that if the character moves freely, fun, that I'm going to want to run around and grab collectibles. They just don't understand what makes a game fun, man. Collectibles are boring. Nobody cares about collectibles, bro. And the few that do, trust me, they're the minority. Traversal, valid to spend more time in the world. Traversal is arguably one of the most fun aspects of Assassin's Creed, which may have led people into thinking that open world collectibles are more fun in and of themselves than they actually are. I guess because of the parkour and everything like that. Observation is another crucial aspect of exploration, one that is heavily impacted by adding map markers on the map. Challenging the player on their ability to scrutinize the environment and notice things on their own isn't mandatory. As I explained in the previous article, it's sometimes better to swap observation for something else. Providing helpers can be vital for the rhythm of the exploration. On a deeper level, though, letting the player move on their own, but also spot points of interest on their own, is a powerful tool to reinforce the joy of discovery. You don't find stuff because a developer included a bright red sign to attract your attention. Rather, you found it because you were observant and you were rewarded for your natural curiosity. Hence, why you put on question marks all over the map, so you actually knew that you don't find stuff because the developer included a bright red sign to attract your attention, which is exactly what you did with the big question marks. And even the loot boxes, that's a way for you to say, hey, come over here and get this. Hey, look over here. Come walk over here and do this. Bad design, bro. Putting map icons everywhere introduces another problem. Oh, there we go. The implicit authorization to not look at anything else. Exactly. Without even consciously noticing, players subconsciously recognize that because all the points of interest are explicitly marked on the map, there's no reason to check out what's in between. There you go. You might spot a blossoming tree. There's that blossoming tree. In the distance, your natural instinct might be to go and investigate. But in the absence of any map icons, you probably move on unless you have some other serious reason to believe the location is an exception to the rule. There goes your curiosity right out the window. You see, guys, if you had, instead of the blossoming tree, it was perhaps a underground tunnel that led to an area of bad guys, that might be something Ghost Recon fans would check out and not need an icon on the map to see. If you were walking and it wasn't on the map, that there was a hidden base all the way up on that mountain, and you could see a watchtower, a guard watchtower, and you say, oh shit, yo, there's a watchtower up there. That might be a little hidden base. Yo, let's go see what's up there. That's what's going to get players to explore your world. Anything in between is irrelevant. It's just trees and terrain. You don't need to put a blossoming tree with a crate underneath it for me to go look at it. It just doesn't make sense. How you engage. This third external factor is more abstract. I'd call it your gameplay goals. That is, the goals you set for yourself within the overarching structure of the game based on your expectations. In linear experiences, the standard end goal is to beat the final level. In sandbox games, there isn't necessarily an obvious end goal, and it can be part of the appeal to come up with your own. Think of all these experiences you'll have along the way. What keeps you playing? Breakpoint has several layers of progression and potential goals: character building, PvP ranking, open world completion, and so on. As I mentioned in part 1 about incentives, finishing the campaign tends to resonate with the most significant chunk of the audience, where other aspects of the game, such as customization, character customization, are there to flesh out the experience. Now, real quick, here's why data doesn't work. Me, myself, I beat the game and then I didn't play it anymore. Now, it might say to them that I'm playing it because I'm in game, but that's when I was making my Splinter Cell movie. So I was in the game an extra 100 hours just making a freaking Splinter Cell movie for YouTube. But a lot of people don't come back after they beat the campaign because the game loop was just boring. There was nothing else to really do. You know what I'm saying? And they probably use a lot of that type of data to see what they can do in the future, instead of listening to the damn forums, which is the majority of the people who have passion for this game are trying to explain to you, this is what will work, do this, and all the other people will also enjoy it. Breakpoint's first mission is carefully crafted to present the narrative first and foremost, explaining the themes of survival, drones, and revenge. The beautiful and varied playground might be a natural fit for exploration, but there's no call for it early on. Does exploration really need to be one of the gameplay goals in Ghost Recon game? No. If you ask players, they'll always answer yes. Just told you no, bro. Does exploration really need to be one of the gameplay goals in Ghost Recon in a Ghost Recon game? No. If you ask players, they'll always say yes. Players always want more freedom of choice, but when you observe them playing the game, the answer is quite differently. They don't care much. It's also the way you design the game. The game design is indissociable from players' expectations. Both elements influence each other. At any rate, players will always come to the game with the expectation of some kind. In this case, exploring a remote island is likely a secondary concern for most Ghost Recon players. Exactly. The first concern is awesome, squad-based, tactical, third-person shooter. That's it. You nail that game loop, you have people playing this shit forever. Conclusion. I like analyzing the flaws of a bad game as much, if not more, than qualities of a good one. It's the best way to figure out the potential pitfalls and gain a new perspective through which to assess my future projects. Oh. Remember again, though, that there's no single formula or recipe here. You can't reverse engineer the flaws to figure out the building blocks. Nevertheless, diving deep into Ghost Recon Breakpoint from an exploration point of view helped me to articulate key aspects that I simply couldn't while I was working on it. While you can't ignite natural desires through external motivators, you can fuel these desires with sufficient tangible rewards connected to fundamentally appealing game loops. You see what he came away with? He just needs to work on their reward system. The game loop system I agree with. This is all while ensuring movement is fun, observation is enjoyable and satisfying, and expectations are aligned. None of that is easy, and it's certainly a lot to balance, yet that is by no means an exhaustive list of considerations. There are many video game worlds yet to be created, and there will be many that have the opportunity to feature exploration. Many creators will take on this daunting challenge in their attempt to reach the Holy Grail, truly conveying the unique pleasure of being on your own interactive adventure. It's a sensation that so far only video games have achieved. Sucker Punch has successfully done that daunting challenge in their attempt to reach the Holy Grail. I think Sucker Punch did it with Ghost of Tsushima. So that was it. Jean-Baptiste Auger, or how do you ever, Jean-Baptiste Auger, however you say it in French. Lead game designer at Ubisoft Paris, expert in system design, economy, progression, views of my own do not represent my company. I feel like such, I'm going to be honest, dude. And if you guys made it this far, it won't matter. I feel like such a loser in my life, man. I could do this shit, man. I could do this shit. You know, the fact that I failed in my life to become a game developer, like, kills me. I went to school for multimedia, and I did an area of emphasis in game development. And when I got out of college, I just never got into the industry. And I see these types of people, and they're like, you know, how do you become an expert in system design? You know, do I have to learn C++? Is that what it is? Or you know, are these just your opinions on how to create a good game, and then you tell the programmers what to do? You're a lead game designer at Ubisoft Paris. So you led the design philosophy for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and it failed tremendously. And this is for all you, if you people made it this far and you're young and you have passion in something, yo man, work 100% and go for it. Because let me tell you, there are less talented people out there doing what you want to do right now. Believe you me. You want to go for something, go for it, man. Be honest to yourself and just do it. Because there are people out there that don't know what the hell they're doing. And they got great jobs, and they're making the games you want to make and you want to play. And it's disconcerting to me to read what this guy wrote. And by the end of it, he didn't say, what I failed to realize is that Ghost Recon Breakpoint is a squad-based tactical shooter, and that no matter how many treasure chests I put onto the open world, the audience did not want to go find treasure chests in this game. They wanted to attack areas with their squad. They wanted to think of tactics and have ways of getting to a destination and leaving a destination. And they wanted the AI to work in a manner that made sense, with enemies flanking and using suppression mechanics. And they wanted lots of gear for their characters. And that's nothing I could do because I was a mission designer. But at the very least, you could have, you were the lead game designer. So maybe that is what you could have done. Maybe, you know, while you were thinking up the concepts of this game, maybe you could have thought up better concepts, bro. So now I want to go over the forums. I'm not certain if this has been shared here. I did see we shared it on Reddit already. There's a Crockford talking about it. I encourage you to read for yourself. Cutting through the fox of the article to summarize. The decision to skew the franchise into RPG looter shooter and their willingness to implement solutions based solely off minimal cost effort led them to focus on reducing the experience to the point where all that was left was the transparent mechanics specifically designed to manipulate player behavior for the goal of squeezing every last moment of Ubi's coveted player engagement metrics. Yo, he freaking nailed it. That's exactly what it is. How do we keep you in game? How do we keep you involved in game? How do we get you back in game? That's their metrics that they're measuring, which is why I said, hey, I would love to explore the world, but it's dull as shit. So don't use my data as a point when I'm telling you what I did was the opposite of what I wanted to do. I made it through the story and I wanted to keep playing, but there was no reason for me to. It was just the game loop was boring, bro. Adding the AI did nothing for me as well, so here's hoping that Ubisoft understands that the solution to the issue that Mr. Ogre brings up is as simple as focusing your efforts into making a product with more than minimal cost. So let's see what Trick Shady has to say. That was actually an interesting read and does really highlight just what they want, just why they went so far off course. I'm assuming he meant off course with Breakpoint. There are a few things that really stand out for me that should be glaring for the writer, but he seems to completely miss the point and get the wrong idea. That is my take on it anyway. Trick Shady, I agree. I think he's missing the mark. Even though he realizes he missed the mark, he's still missing the mark. The Wild Mysteries were a welcome change of pace from the tactical, sometimes intense, stealth shooting experience. They gave slim rewards, but it didn't matter much. The joy of finding them was enough. I'm pretty sure I repeated this too. It's like, wait, what? Does exploration really need to be one of the gameplay goals of Ghost Recon game? If you ask players, they always answer yes. And I answered no. Players always want more freedom of choice, but when you observe them playing the game, the answer is quite differently. They don't care much. There was a lot in there, but I'll just pick these two to highlight just to show how misguided this is and still how the lack of understanding that we've been trying to portray to them. How they lack understanding. The first sentence really sums it up for me. Ghost Recon is about the tactical and the intense shooting experience, and that is what the game has to be modeled around. What we want is very much that most of the time. I don't play this type of game because I want to walk around and admire the world. Yes, at times we do take a back seat and have wander around, but that is second. Exploration should never have been the focal point. What he seems to be missing the point on is that we don't want or need loot gratification. Yes, exactly. To get us to go to the wonderful landmarks that have been built and shows why the game is so lost, because that's not what the title is about. The problem is not that the player's not going to places and needs to loot us to get there. The problem is that it's not what the game should be about. People spent time in exploration and Breakpoint because they were bored with nothing to do and because of the dull and awful mission designs that have absolutely no replayability because they lack substance, quality, and quantity. I've not seen anyone here state that exploration needs to be a gameplay goal. No one has stated that. So you see the disconnect between the community and the developers. The reason it matters from the standpoint of the franchise is to be able to approach objectives from multiple angles and in different ways. Exploration in the way it's being spoken able here is misguided and under the wrong impressions of why it's better to have an open world rather than something confined. It's about the freedom to go about things the way we would like, as many approach will be different to that of others. And I'll link a video for you guys up here. It's an old theatrical video I made. It's something where I'm at the mission boards and I'm being explained the mission, and then I head out to the mission and you check it out. You check it out. And I think this is what people want more of, in my opinion. I say again, to believe that the issue is that players need incentives to explore is so far removed from the core issue and a truly misguided lack of understanding at the feedback you have received. It's another warning sign for me personally that what we have said is not being understood. I agree. Ghost Recon is not about needing to go around and look at nice trees and landmarks. It's about being a tactical shooter where all the player-focused gratification needs to come from planning and undertaking multiple operations. What is important is the gameplay, and the world around should come after that as a second thought. Blue, if you have the opportunity to speak with this dev, could you please relay my words to them? Most appreciated if possible. My take on this: 11 people found this helpful. 12 people now found this helpful. You know? I love these little excerpts from the minds of game creators. I wish we had more of this transparency. Trick, that is dead on as far as Ghost Recon as a franchise is concerned. Croc agrees, but I would say it's more accurate to say that Breakpoint isn't a Ghost Recon game. Yeah, not because they focused on aspects like exploring, but because they simply never even wanted to make a tactical military shooter. Bam! Instead, they wanted to make an adventure shooter, but dropped the ball there as well. Exactly. They have this Frankenstein, Tomb Raider, Uncharted, looter shooter, and it just doesn't work on all fronts. As far as Breakpoint as a standalone game, exploration is a huge aspect of any open world game, and he outlines he got a real good grasp of what makes Breakpoint exploration nothing more than a chore. They willfully reduced it to a checklist because it was the easiest solution to their perceived problem. People won't spend as much time in our game. I also want to state, while it's good that this dev team of professionals is still learning from their mistakes, these really weren't mistakes. They were deliberate choices and shouldn't be forgiven until they prove that they're committed to making better choices. Bam, Crockford nailed it there. The vast island of Aroa features many diverse and beautiful landscapes filled with dozens of cities. I should love to see those. Yeah, El Corvacho. Shout out to El Corvacho. Yo, for real, El. Well, like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Do they consider cities these compounds? Because they're just there was one main city at the bottom. I forget what it's called. It's a huge city. It's basically desolate. There's no people there. No people walking around. Right? Like, where are the people that live in this huge city? It's just some sentinel guys walking around it. Really, really bad. Trick Shady is spot on. Ubisoft completely misunderstands why the open world in Wildlands was a success and it wasn't in Breakpoint. I mean, wow, Church really kills it too. This thread, I'll link this thread down below so you guys could read through it if you want and even comment on it. But there's a lot of how many pages are here? Four pages of community members discussing it. But I mean, this is a really long video. I doubt everybody's going to sit through it, so making it is probably a waste of time. But I wanted to go through it nonetheless. Regardless, there are some people who might sit through this and read through this with me and even comment down below. Guys, let me know what you think. I let you know what I thought while I read it. So now let me know what you think. Do you think that this guy, Jean-Baptiste Auger, excuse me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, do you think he got it? What went wrong? Do you think they understand now? Do you think we'll get a squad-based third-person tactical shooter with awesome military mechanics in the next game? Do you think in the next game they'll put in a weight system where the more gear you carry, the heavier your guy is, the less gear you carry, the lighter your guy is, the more agile, the more stealthy? Do you think they'll create these mechanics? Do you think they'll make a game loop where fighting is the main game loop, where you can have a squad that you can control from top to bottom individually and enemies that respond in a way that makes sense? Flanking, suppression, grenades, flashbangs. You know, do you think they're really going to put in that time and effort to make all these systems in Anvil 2.0 just for Ghost Recon Breakpoint? Because I really don't. I don't think they're going to do it. I think we're going to get more of a Wildlands 2.0 in the next game. Nothing will be improved, especially if they're building it in Anvil 2.0. I've heard of nothing of Ubisoft building a new engine for next gen. So I really don't know if I have any confidence in this team to deliver the third-person tactical shooter that I want. And it's a real shame too, because they have a lot of talent over at Ubisoft. They just have misguided people making the decisions on what this game should be. And Jean-Baptiste is one of them. And it sucks too, because he's probably a talented guy. If he'd just figure out, well, you know, what he's doing wrong and what the community really wants, and then be a lead game designer and design a game based off that, I think he'd hit a home run. But that's all, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for this video. This video is probably so long. I don't know. I'm going to try to edit it down a bit. And yeah, if you sat through it, you crazy sons of bitches, comment down below and let's discuss some things. Let's talk. And that's it. I'm out of here, guys. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. You guys are masochists. I love you all. I'll see you all in the next video. All right? Peace.